Oh my gosh. Again, just trying to figure all of this out. It's so hard not being in your own stuff. So I created this manifestation for myself, but at the same time, didn't expect some of the minor nuances that go along with getting older and not having access to the things that you love until now. One of the manifestations that I wanted for myself that happened rather rapidly was me wanting to have the experience of living near water, living near the beach in California. And so it happened very, very rapidly. However, this is not my home. And so just having to adjust to being in somebody else's space and being in my own environment for so long and switching from that is a little bit challenging. So anyway, what I wanted to talk to you guys about this week, or what the message or the topic or the theme for this week was going to be about, and what this week is about, is thinking about where your life would be like. I could say a year from now, but I'll even make it shorter. I'll say 6 months from now. Where will your life be like? Or where will you be at? And if you continue on the trajectory that you've started for yourself right now, where is it that you think that you're going to end up? A lot of times we often will think that life is happening to us. And so we sit by and we continue to do the same things day in and day out, expecting these miracles or these shifts or these changes or these messages in order to start to shift us and propel us in a different direction. But I'm going to put the onus back on you, and I'm going to challenge you to think about, where do you want to be in 6 months from now? Where do you want to be in a year from now? And if you start to think about that, think about what you need to do, or who you need to be, or what you need to incorporate in order to get to that next level in life. Through my spiritual practice, my direction has become much, much easier for me. Now, that is not to say that things don't happen in a way which is frustrating, or, things happen instantly, or I don't experience frustrations or disappointments or anything like that. But what I will say is that when I started to incorporate my spiritual practice, what became much clearer to me was my bigger direction, not what's happening on the day-to-day, but actually stepping out and seeing, what is it that I value? What is it that's ethically right? What is the legacy that I want to leave behind? Who is the person that I want to become? And once I started to focus on those things, that is when I started to really incorporate really big shifts in my life. And so I want to talk to you about, where do you want to be 6 months to a year from now, and what are you doing about it? Hey, Michelle. Time is very finite, and it is the most valuable resource that you will have. But yet, when I start to talk to people on a more personal level, what they do is they put things off to tomorrow or the next day, or they think that maybe some of the hard decisions that they know that they need to make, you wait and you keep putting those off, and you think that you're going to be able to be better tomorrow and the next day and the next. But again, I want to ask you that if you continue to move in the direction that you're moving right now, the mindset that you're in right now, the spiritual practice that you are in right now, and the connection and the beliefs that you have right now, where do you think that you will be in 6 months? To create the life that you want is a very proactive, very empowered position to be in. It's not something that happens by circumstance. It's not something that is very easy to do. I'll tell you a quick story about how my spiritual practice did start to move me in a direction that I needed to go. Because you don't always have the answers, but what happens when you connect spiritually is that you know what that one next step is to take you further along your path and further along your journey. So when I'm saying, where can you be 6 months from now? Let me tell you this very, very powerful story. And I can even tell you the story about how I got where I am now. Maybe we'll do that on Thursday. So for those of you that think that you can't dramatically shift your life, you can. In 1 year, I had just been walking by a piece of paper. I didn't really pay attention to the piece of paper. It just kind of called my name. It was prominent. It was on a wall. It just stood out. I would walk by this paper all the time. Sometimes I would glance at it and I would say, okay, that sounds good. And the paper was a paper about going back to school. And I don't need to go back to school. I never wanted to go back to school. It never was a desire. But when you start to tap into your spirituality and your intuition, there will be things that will come into your life that you can't ignore. And that was one of those things, because I chose to develop my spiritual connection. So I kept walking by this flyer, and I would walk by it every week, maybe twice a week, and think nothing of it. But the thing that shifts when you are in tune is that pretty soon the clues that are trying to get you to move in a different direction, they start to speak to you and they talk to you to the point where you cannot ignore them. So I decided, okay, maybe I need to do something with this. Maybe I need to go back to school. And so I just called the number on the bottom of the flyer, had no intentions of it going anywhere. And even by me going to school, I had no intentions of changing the trajectory of my current lifestyle. I was just like, okay, well, maybe I'll just do it. So I talked to this lady. She was very, very informative. It seemed like a very easy process. So I said, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to apply to school. It was grad school when I got my first master's. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. So I applied to this class, and it was a very rigorous process. And I wasn't fully expecting to get into it. I wasn't fully invested. But what happened was, because I was moving in flow with the next direction that I needed to take for my life, just by me taking that next step, everything opened up with ease. And that's why I'm telling you this story. So I took the first action, which was to call the lady and to talk about the school. And then the next step was, okay, I still feel compelled to do this in my heart. Something is telling me to do it. I don't know why. I don't have a plan for it. I don't even really want to do it, but it just seems like the right thing to do. So I'm going to honor that. So I decided to go back to school. School for most people would take probably about 2 years, and it only took me about a year to really get through most of the meat and potatoes of that degree program. But at the end of that year, I had to pick an internship. And in that internship came an experience that totally changed my financial stability, my ability. If you listen to my story that I told last year about me being in a studio in an air mattress after my divorce, no job, no career, no nothing, and then having this big shift happen to me just because I honored myself, that you will be able to see how powerful this story is. And I'm having a hard time verbalizing it because it's so powerful. It's like, how can you even put it into words? But anyway, this internship resulted in something that shifted to the trajectory of my life, because then I was able to, like I said, get an externship or internship that really brought me in financial abundance that I had never experienced before. Like, it skyrocketed my abundance, it skyrocketed my opportunities in life, it skyrocketed my connections to other people that were major key players in my industry to help, again, propel me and move me forward and have me grow and have me learn. But the only reason that happened is because I took a step. And so when I'm asking you to start to think about where you are going to be in 6 months from now or a year from now, I want you to think about you and how many times that you may live your life for what's going on in the day-to-day, what's in front of you, your relationships, your job, your immediate feelings. Maybe you feel tired, maybe you feel stuck, maybe you feel overwhelmed, and you just stay stuck in that bubble instead of trying to honor the true purpose and the true legacy for who you truly are. and then honoring when spirituality or when God or when your conscience is calling you to take that bigger step, take that bigger leap, and then in honoring that you do it, how are you going to move from where you are now to where you could be in 6 months to a year from now? And part of it is taking a step, taking the leap, and being connected with yourself. I can tell you that I don't often have answers to where I need to go, but the thing that pushes me and pulls me in the right direction is just a connection to something bigger than myself, to something bigger than what I experience on the day-to-day, to something bigger than my job. And it's not even a job that propels me. It's a legacy. It's a feeling of who I want to be. How do I want people to feel when they meet me? If I die, what do I want people to say about me? We think about legacies in financial aspects, in wills, in our family, in our children, and all of that. But I really feel like it even goes much deeper than that, because all of those things are still human constructs. And if you're getting stuck in that, step back and think about, where do you want to be in 6 months? And how are you moving through life now that is going to take you to where you want to be in 6 months or even a year? Where do you want to be in a year? And how are you moving right now that's going to take you into the next year? And if you're listening to the clues that you get from the frustrations and the doubts and the disillusionments that happen through the experiences that you are having in your everyday life, then I would invite you to even step back a little bit more, because there's more work to do. In order to get to where you want to be, you really have to connect to yourself on a deeper level, on a spiritual level. And until you do that, what you will find is that you may have a little bit of momentum, but then you stop. Or you have a little bit of success, but then you fall flat. Or you move 2 steps forward, but then you feel like you take a step back. Or you feel like you try really, really hard. You will things to happen. And for a little bit that works, but then it doesn't work. And the reason why it doesn't work is because until you can fix or shape or integrate something that is going to keep you grounded and connected to your own inner North Star, you're not going to be able to see it outside of you. Whatever you are seeing outside of you is a lagging measure for what is happening or what has happened inside of you. So if you want your next 6 months or your next year to be different than what you are experiencing now, what is it about you that you need to work on, that you need to change, that you need to honor, that you need to listen to, that you need to be brave enough to step into, and do it and be it and live it in order to change whatever it is that you see. So I'm going to leave it like that. It was a weird message. I know it maybe didn't make a whole lot of sense, but I guess I'm just telling you that story because I promise you that once you start to learn how to tap into that voice, and that voice is bigger than if somebody doesn't support you and you get discouraged, or if something happens and you have a bad day and so you feel like you want to give up. That voice is bigger than that. And that voice knows where you should be going more than you know. The only thing that you need to know is if you learn how to connect to that voice, it will always take you the next step. When I didn't know that I needed to go to school, what saved me, what has helped me, what has created opportunity in my life was the ability to know a sign or a connection to something, even if I didn't understand it. And when I had a connection to something that I didn't understand, to honor it and move in that direction. And once I talked to the lady to sign up for school, because it still felt okay, it still felt right, even though it's not something that I intended for myself. And I forgot like a lot of the story. Like I ended up winning a scholarship from a lady whose daughter had passed away. School was a very emotional experience for me, even though I didn't know or even expect the loops and the twists and the turns that would happen to me. So I talked to you about the abundance because a lot of times we want to have something tangible that we can believe in, and something that will give us a reward for all the hard work that we do. But if I could speak to you longer and tell you all of the things that changed inside of me as a person just by honoring that flyer that I saw, I think you would have no choice but to stop putting your spirituality on the back burner. Stop putting your priorities on the back burner. Stop putting the hard decisions that you need to make in life on the back burner, and just learn to honor that one step. And in that one step comes freedom, comes balance, comes abundance, comes ease. Even when there are struggles in my life, they don't, in the grand scheme of the struggles that I used to have when I was fighting and trying to hustle and trying to create things for my life, I've learned that I can create my life with much more ease than me trying to make it happen. But it's all because of who I've chosen to be, who I've chosen to become, who I've chosen to live as, and what values and ethics that I've chosen to associate myself with, and honor that the best that I can day in and day out. And that is what makes my life so easy, so abundant, so much filled with opportunity and hope and peace, and all of the things that we all are seeking when we don't have that currently in our life. It all came from my spiritual practice, no doubt. So I have some cards here. I know I'm just like rambling. I'm just going to pull maybe a couple cards just to help you if you are feeling like, you try to connect to spirit, you try to connect with yourself, you try to tap into your intuition, but then something happens or life gets in the way, or the day-to-day gets you a little bit discouraged, and so you feel like that kind of knocks you off of your path. Let's pull a couple of cards to kind of guide you to get back on track and stay on track, and start to think about, if you want your next 6 months to be different, you need to start becoming a different person now in order to see that. You're not going to see the shifts that you experience now are probably due to things that have happened in your energy field months ago. Remember, what you experience materially is a lagging measure. We had a jumping card. Let's see. So, I like this card. So that's our first card, and I'll talk about it in a second. I'm going to pull one more card. Again, for those of you that have a hard time understanding what I'm talking about, just think about when you're trying to lose weight. You do all the work, you step on the scale, you might lose weight the first week, but sometimes you do a lot of hard work and you find that you haven't lost weight from your efforts until maybe the second week or maybe the third week. And so if you give up immediately, you're not going to see results. But if you stick to your routine, you start to see results. That is how life works. If you are measuring what you have tried to implement for like a week or two or a month or two or even 6 months or so, and trying to look at your life now and think that what you have done most recently is what is going to be evidence of what you manifest, it is not the way life works. You have to do a lot of work on the upside. You have to do a lot of, not upside, the front end. You have to do a lot of work on the front end, but it's not hard if you listen, but you have to do a lot of work on the front end. And then what you will see is results. So if you don't like what you're seeing, it's not because you're doing something wrong today. It's not because you did something wrong yesterday. It's because there is something that has been going on for an extended period of time, and now you're starting to see the manifestations of that. And so if you want anything in your future to be different, who do you need to be and who do you need to become to make it happen? And then we have the Pentacles. So again, I said time is a very finite source, but what I see when I see the Page of Pentacles with the 10 of Pentacles is that you have this ability to shape your future the way that you want it to be. You have this ability to learn different things that will help you create a different life that you want. You may be in the very baby beginning stages of it, especially if this is saying manifestation for you. If you feel manifestation, you're in the very beginning stages of really learning how you want your life to be, how you want things to be shaped, how you want to mold your future, how you want to take the lessons that you are learning and be able to integrate them to create a legacy for yourself. However, thinking about it is one thing. Doing it day in and day out is another. And doing it day in and day out when you know that you're a beginner but still feeling committed and curious and motivated and almost devoted and enthralled and in love with what it is that you're learning and what it is that you are doing and what it is that you're creating is a totally different thing. And if you feel like you're going to go from this beginner novice all the way to here, that's not the way life happens. But the way that you get here is by focusing here. Yeah, baby steps. It's always baby steps. And so for those of you that are feeling discouraged, again, it's not about thinking about that real big picture and what you want to manifest and what you want to create and grow. It's about learning who you are, what you value, what are your ethics, what is the legacy that you want to leave behind for yourself, and then learning how to start to integrate and be enthralled and focused and captured and caught up in that thing, because in that thing you learn to pay attention to little signs and little resources and little seeds that you can start to use to integrate into your life to be able to have a better life for yourself and to be able to create this legacy. So what I'm seeing for most of you is that you are learning, but where I'm getting an intuitive message is that while you're learning and you're trying, you get easily discouraged. And so what hope that I can give you is that if you are always just picking a little piece of the legacy that you want and you focus on one little piece of it instead of all of them, you will be moving in the right direction with a lot less effort and a lot more ease. And then your connection to spirituality will help you move from this level to 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 this level. So I'm going to leave you with this. If you are getting discouraged, again, you need to have trust and you need to have faith that what you are seeing right now is not a result of what you are doing right now. It's a result of something that you have been in the past, something you have experienced in the past, something you have connected to in the past. So do not tie your good faith, your good efforts, and your devotions onto what you are seeing right now. If you continue to take those little steps forward and to just focus on one little piece of the puzzle that you want to create for your legacy, what you will see is that it will start to unfold for you, and you will start to slowly shift from a learner, a beginner, a doer, somebody that's focusing on one thing, to God coming in and helping you to co-create the rest of what it is that you want to create for yourself. And you will see that if you start to ask yourself questions about where do you want to be in 6 months, where do you want to be in a year, and think about who you are right now. If you are this person, you are going to get where you want to be, even if you don't see it right now. Stop basing your decisions for how you devote yourself to your future and your success and your manifestations based on what you see right now, because that's not how stuff works. If I had based my life off of what I saw in that instance when I had to go to school, when I had to devote a year to school and I didn't know why I had to do it, and I had to do all this shit while I was still trying to do my full-time job, I wouldn't have never made it to where I was today. I would never have the abundance and the success that I have today. But just by focusing on that one little piece of it, and every time, like I said, you pick that piece and you honor that piece, another piece will come forward once you master a piece. And it's piece by piece by piece that things start to unfold to where you look back at your life and you're like, oh shit, I would have never thought that I would have been here. And some of you have been there before, so you understand what I'm talking about, what I'm speaking about. We all have these situations where if we look back, we would have never thought where we are today. So think about that when you feel discouraged and when you're going through hard times in your own life and wanting to give up. Anybody have any questions before I go? Hey Beth, how are you? Well, Beth, you know what? I was like trying to send a message, but it was a little bit clunky in the beginning. So I hope that you all understand what I was trying to say. Basically, if you want to change your life and you want to be in a different spot than you are right now, 6 months from now, let's focus on 6 months from now, then what you need to do is start changing who you are today in order to do that. And the best way you do that is work on your inner self instead of your outer self and looking at the outer experiences as evidence of if you're being successful or not. The more successful you are at becoming the person that you want to be, the more successful your outside life will become, even though it may not look the way you think it should have looked or what you have wanted it to look. You have to trust the process, because sometimes things happen that are bigger and better than anything you could ever imagine for yourself. And we limit ourselves when we have a specific vision of what we want that is not in alignment with the true potential of what we could create and who we could be if we just allowed ourselves to go there. All right. No, thank you, Beth. I miss you. I have not been on social media as much as I normally do. But anyway, I will talk to you guys soon. All right. Bye.